You have a movement of people who are actively pushing for the expansions of Israel's boundaries.
בסוף, איפה שיש התיישבות, יש ביטחון.
A deep web of different settler movements that are working together on an idea that Israel should be much larger than it currently is.
מעצבים את מדינת ישראל מחדש, מגנים עליה, וחוזרים הביתה אחרי אלפי שנים, התרגשות.
Every day we see support for the concept of a greater Israel.
אפילו אם אנחנו מדברים על כל ארץ ישראל השלמה, שיש עוד הרבה זמן להגיע לזה, עדיין יהיה מדינה קטנה יחסית לעולם. לא נורא אם נתרחב קצת.
Last August, Netanyahu stated that he's very much connected to the idea of greater Israel.
אתה מתחבר לחזון?
מאוד.
באמת?
מאוד.
בישראל השלמה.
That would have been unfathomable just a few years ago. It's becoming more and more mainstream and more normalized.
As Israeli forces have rampaged through Gaza, the West Bank, Syria, and Lebanon, a once fringe settler fantasy, the idea that Israel should be larger, greater, has never been more prevalent.
ובסופו של דבר ישראל פה צריכה לבסס את העוצמה שלה, והעוצמה שלה היא במשפט אחד, לא נסוגים מדרום לליטני.
The concept of a greater Israel has deep roots. The father of modern Zionism, Theodor Herzl, advocated for a future Israel that would stretch from the Brook of Egypt to the Euphrates. The influential Zionist thinker, Zev Jabotinsky, wrote the song East Bank of the Jordan River in 1929. It remains popular in the Greater Israel movement. The idea is anchored in a religious prophecy that views the land between the Euphrates River and the Mediterranean Sea as promised to the Jewish people.
People can sometimes get carried away with thinking that, this biblical map of Greater Israel is in fact a blueprint for Israeli takeover of the entire region. What's really happening is more simple than that. What the concept of Greater Israel does in Zionist political thinking is that it strengthens and emphasizes the idea that Israel's current borders are not fixed and are not destined to remain as they are, and that Israel has a right to expand those borders kind of as and when it chooses.
One of the main mottos of Gush Emunim, of the bloc of settlers fighting for Greater Israel historically, is this idea of Hitnachel belevavot, which literally means in Hebrew, to settle the hearts. And the idea is that it's not enough to only settle the land. We also need a plan to settle the hearts and the minds of the people, to convince them of this project. And that's one of the things that the settler movement has been most successful in over the course of the past decades, is really a PR campaign selling this idea that settlements bring security.
Following the October 7 attacks in 2023, Israel's settler movement saw an historic opportunity to push their agenda forward.
צריך להתיישב בעזה, נקודה. לא יהיה איום פשיטה מעזה, כי פשוט לא תהיה עזה, עזה יהודית.
Chief among them, Nachala, led by veteran settler activist Daniela Wise, a frequent commentator on Israeli television and supporter of Greater Israel.
מה גבולות הגזרה של ארץ ישראל בעיני רוחך?
מנהר פרת?
כן.
ועד נהר...
פרת זה...
עיראק?
יש לך תוכניות להתיישב גם בגולן הסורי?
כן.
Wise is one of a constellation of voices who are mainstreaming ideas about conquering lands far beyond Israel's borders. They include the ultra-right organization Uri Tzafon, whose motto is occupation, expulsion, settlement.
I first started tracking Uri Tzafon in the spring of 2024, which was very soon after they were founded. And in the recent period of time, we've seen a tremendous uptick in their support.
צריך להתיישב בצפון הגליל, צפון הגליל נגמר בליטני, כמו שהגדירה ההסתדרות הציונית לפני 100 שנה.
At the beginning of March, again and again, there were mainstream Israeli media personalities who started talking about the idea that the Litani River in southern Lebanon had to be Israel's new northern border, and that it had to be ethnically cleansed of its Lebanese inhabitants, the villages had to be destroyed.
זה רצועת ביטחון עם הבדל אחד, אין שם נפש חיה, אין תושבים, אין כפרים, אין כלום, הכל ריק, כמו שעשו בקו הצהוב בעזה, ככה צריך לעשות בלבנון.
Until at the end of March, the defense minister, Israel Katz, made an announcement that Israel would control up to the Litani River, and hundreds of thousands of Lebanese people would not be able to return to their homes. The media becomes a policy. Next time there's a war with Lebanon, they'll be one step closer.
בעצם שינינו את פני המזרח התיכון.
The Litani River has become a sort of common sense idea. And so as much as I would like to dismiss a movement like Oretz Tzafon, it would be foolhardy to think that it's a project that doesn't have any future.
מדברים על לבנון והסדר לקראת משהו, השטח הזה לא צריך לחזור אליהם בכלל. הם לא צריכים לדעת שאולי הם יחזרו לשם.
היית אומר שצריך ליישב אותו ביישובים ישראלים?
הייתי אומר שהתיישבות יהודית ישראלית בכל מקום שווה ביטחון נקודה.
We saw the same happen with Gaza. In the weeks after October 7th, we heard, increasingly bombastic statements by prominent figures in the Israeli media on the big TV networks.
גם שנחסל את החמאס, אנחנו צריכים את השליטה הביטחונית של מדינת ישראל בעזה, אנחנו צריכים להישאר שם.
Which includes the kind of far-right Channel 14, but also the more mainstream Channel 12 and 13, and the public broadcaster, Kan. These TV stations are hugely popular in Israel. Millions of people watch them every day. And the fact that these statements become normal really gives rise to them becoming normalized, becoming popular among the Israeli society.
As Palestinians are experiencing in the occupied West Bank, Israeli settlers are violent, dangerous, and operate with impunity. But on the Israeli airwaves, they're given the kid gloves treatment.
מה בחלום שלך? מה היית רוצה לראות פה?
פה יהיה יישוב גדול, מתפתח יפה.
Too often, voices once considered extremist, even by Israeli standards, are being positioned as authorities on the country's security.
מי שנמצא כאן מגן על מדינת ישראל. כשהטייסים שלנו תוקפים בלבנון, אנחנו עובדים בקרקע, אנחנו מחזקים את מדינת ישראל.
We see a consistent trend that settlers and other people deeply involved in the settler movement, the Greater Israel movement, are brought onto Israeli TV and other media platforms to speak as experts on security.
יש לנו כאן עניין מהותי להגיד שההתיישבות בעזה זה הפתרון היחיד אחרי ה-7 לאוקטובר.
Part of that is the ways that settlers have become military actors in the West Bank. There's a sort of just assumption that their logic that settlements bring security is the correct one. And we see empirically that that's not true. That settlements and the quest for Greater Israel and a kind of constant eternal warfare and expansion is not something that has made Israelis safer. Certainly, of course, has not made anyone else in the region safer, has brought tragic genocidal consequences.
Having perpetrated what rights groups widely consider to be a genocide in Gaza, then invaded and occupied new territory in Lebanon and Syria, Israel has grown accustomed to the freedom to operate as it pleases in the region. A maximalist plan to recreate biblical Israel is not a mainstream idea in the country, but some version of a greater Israel increasingly is. And because it has entered the mainstream, the settlers have already widened the horizon of what is possible.
This kind of rhetoric that we see today on the Israeli media is the logical outcome of decades of rhetoric that dehumanizes Palestinians and dehumanizes Arabs more generally. I don't think you can say a majority of Israeli society supports settling Gaza, settling Lebanon. Those positions are still pretty divisive within Israeli society. But what you can say is that a majority of Israeli society would not put up a fight if that happened. Israel wants total freedom of action across the Middle East. Over the last 2.5 years, it's largely been achieving that. The concept of Greater Israel, this is what it's about. It's about total Israeli domination over the entire region.
Thanks for watching. Leave us a like or a comment to let us know what you thought about anything we covered this week. The links to our social media and our newsletter are in the description. That's where you can follow us for updates from the show.